Congratulations on receiving a Rize Blade 2 bike. Prior to opening, please inspect your box. If you do notice any damages, please take photos. This is to support any claims in the event the product was damaged from shipping. Now let's open up our box. Remove all zip ties and protective foam inside. Remove the front wheel out of the box, which should have your front quick release axle attached, and set aside these items for later. Finally, remove the bike from the top by gripping the stem with one hand and seat tube with the other. This usually requires two people, so you might want a friend to help you. Next, remove the wooden fork stand using a 10mm wrench. I like to hoist it onto a piece of foam so I can access it better. Now we can install the handlebars. Remove the 4 screws and plate pre-attached to the stem. Grab your handlebars and secure it with the plate using the same 4 screws. Before tightening completely though, make sure to rotate your handlebars to your liking to lock in your riding position. We recommend having the brake levers at a 45-degree angle downwards from the horizontal. All of this requires a 4mm Allen key. Moving on to our forks, remove the brake pad protector from the brake caliper. Now we're ready to install the front tire. Remove the quick release axle and brake disc protector from the tire. Grab your front wheel and raise the bike by the handlebars and fit the wheel into the fork, making sure the brake disc is sitting between the brake pads. The fork will ultimately catch onto the wheel's axle. Locate your quick release axle and make sure it's in the correct orientation. The lever should be on the opposite side of the brake disc with the narrow portion of the springs facing inwards. Tighten the nut until the lever experiences adequate resistance and lock it in place. Make sure your handlebars are aligned perpendicular to your tires. You can loosen the bolts at the stem to make the adjustments and tighten once it's aligned. Next, let's put on our front fender. Remove the bolt and nut assembly using a 5mm Allen key for the bolt and a 10mm wrench for the rear nut. Then sandwich the front and rear fender tabs around the fork connector and thread the bolt through the hole, securing the assembly with the nut at the rear. To finish off our fender assembly, we will secure the rods to the fork as indicated here. Using a 4mm Allen key, remove the bolts on both sides. Grab your bolts and secure the rods to the fork to complete your fender assembly. Now let's assemble your front headlight. Remove the nuts on both sides of the headlight and thread it through the first hole of the metal panel on each side using a 10mm wrench. The rubber spacer should fit between the light and the metal panel. To finish it off, connect the male and female ends of the light plug. This can be tucked away inside the light's rear compartment. Moving on to our pedals, identify the left and right as indicated on each pedal. Failure to differentiate will cause pedals to ruin the threads in the crank arm where reinstallation will not be possible. Once that's understood, install the pedals by rotating them towards the front of the bike. In other words, the left pedal should be rotated counterclockwise and the right rotated clockwise. At the end, please tighten the pedals firmly with a wrench. If at any given moment you're struggling to thread the pedals in, please take it out and reattempt as these pedals are made to be spun in with ease. Now let's bring our attention to the rear rack. Position it to its highest point and use the pre-attached bolt assembly to thread the bolt through the rack and the frame. The thick metal spacer should be sitting between the two. If you're having a hard time feeding it through the hole, try loosening the bottom 2 bolts of the lower rack. Just remember to retighten them after you're done. Last but not least, the tires need to be pumped. You can find the recommended tire pressure on the tire sidewall or in your owner's manual. Thank you guys so much for watching and enjoy the ride.